Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our learning of this year-end edition about 36 stratagems of tactics or stratagems applied in wartime. And maybe something you can find useful in here. 顺手牵羊, what was what we talked about. I translate the snatch, but it means something convenient that's in your way and you just take it. And there's a small gain because it's a sheep. We use that as nothing major, but even if a small gain, still take it with you. Okay, today we have 调虎离山. So compare with yang yesterday, which is small gain. Tiger here, 调虎离山, the 虎, the tiger. It's not a small thing. It's probably symbolized the most powerful, most threatening, like the biggest threat or force in your opponent's camp. So you want to lure the tiger away from the mountain because the mountain is your target. That's where you're going. But with the tiger guarding the mountain, there's no way for you to get there. So the tactic is to somehow get the tiger away from the mountain, to get it off duty somehow, right? So that you can attack them when the tiger is not there. Okay. 调虎离山, we have 调 with the speaking symbol. Speaking symbol comes with the mouth symbol, a blocks with up tilted corner, and then we have the tongue, the tip of the tongue, and then there is a kind of an arrow pointing toward the mouth, meaning it's inside. It's the shape that's inside your mouth, which is the tongue, indirectly speaking, right? And then the two horizontal lines, one longer, one shorter. Intentionally, you cannot write it other ways. You see the contemporary, simplified. This is traditional Chinese, but still it's a simplification of these ones. It's a lot more complicated, but it is the original meaning, the formation. So a lot of information lost in here, but in traditional Chinese, that's contemporarily used in Taiwan, or Hong Kong. I think a lot of Chinese speaking global communities beyond mainland China, they use the traditional ones. They keep the tradition alive over there, so to speak, right? That the top short line there, that's sound bites produced by speaking, is simplified into a dot. So it's important that you recognize the top is shorter than the bottom. Simply because the sound waves travel through space, it gets weaker, and so the signal is smaller. So that's the sense. I don't know if the language characters actually visualize like that, but that's my connection with today, what we know about how sound is making. So this whole thing, the result of speaking, I mean, this sound making and also the organs on you, the mouth and tongues, to produce the sound bites is condensed into this frame to mean the whole thing, to mean speaking. Okay, the right side we have 周. So 周 also comes with a mouth symbol, right? And then the top side, like the remaining, everything else besides this mouth symbol is our ancient water holding barrel device, and with a handle even on the top so that you can hold the barrel up, but the whole thing, it's an interesting shape, right? It's kind of slightly ever curved like that. So that's the water, the, what did I say, barrel or basket. So imagine before the plastic time, right? We don't really have a container that's like seamless. So everything is paneled in together, bind very firmly. So that's the whole, paneling this symbol means. So with the mouth inserted inside the barrel symbol, that means, okay, because in English, we often have the concept of the lowest point of water inside that barrel is determined by the shortest panel in there, right? Because water is going to flow out wherever is the shortest level there. So this paneling of different pieces coming together to form this container, plus the mouth symbol, that means somebody who has to speak and consider all panels, like all sides, almost like looking at one thing, like inside the barrel, from the angle of every panel. So that's the kind of 周 means complete, like view something wholesomely, not just standing on one point of that barrel. Goes through each panel so that you have a full panel view of this barrel. And that's the consideration of a situation. And by speaking as somebody who recognizes like every panel counts basically, and look at the situation from all angles by going through the whole panel. Okay, that plus the speaking side. So this completeness of consideration plus speaking, this originally means the tune, the tonation of singing. So maybe different pitches, different tunes have like represented by this different panels, and that when you are singing or speaking, that you have this different paneling going. I don't exactly know how the language creator, the thinking process through that, but contemporarily, besides the tuning, this 调 also means dispatching or sending somebody somewhere. But probably that's the more in the context of a planned economy, like people don't really quit their jobs back then. Like back then, we were talking about in the 70s or 80s, before 80s, the organization in China where I grew up, like how this language was used back then was you were appointed to a position. You don't get to choose where you go to. So this appointing by whoever does the planning or the controlling of how to arrange people into different positions. So this whole, I guess, a super HR of this nation decides where you go. So that's a kind of appointment. So this 调, besides the tuning, that's very different meaning, was also used as this appointment or assignment, somebody to do something. In this context, I have to recognize my native speaker son. He recommends to translate as lure instead of as assign, because there's no way for you to assign the tiger. The tiger is a powerful force that you try to trick to get it away from you, to unblock your way, right? So there's no way you can assign or dispatch the tiger. It doesn't make sense in this context. So he knows Chinese well enough to know this phrase of 调虎离山. Actually, in one of the animations of cartoon series he watched, that he learned about this phrase, and that was a kind of a strategy used in the cartoon, and it acted out. And so he got a full sense of what 调虎离山 is about. And so he recommends lure is a better, more appropriate translation for 调 here. So it's not exactly in a planned economy that you assign people to a position, but in this case, it's trying to lure the tiger with the sound, the nice speaking, right? That's one possible way. But however detailed strategies or how it's carried out on the execution level is like up for imagination. But the principle here is when you have a big force in front of you, that it will be very costly for you to fight the tiger directly. So the best way to do is to lure it away from your path. Leave the mountain where the tiger is supposed to guard, right? Get it away without direct combat, right? That's the lowest cost to you. Okay. Tiger is simply this image, and you can see almost like the stripes on the tiger. This is probably the torso of the tiger, and this is the head of the tiger. So the whole image is a language abstract, almost like a cave wall painting of description of this tiger. And you can see the contemporary Chinese tiger simplified into this. And as a longtime language user, whenever I see it, the knee-jerk response to this image is like, ooh, something, dangerous. Okay, Li is a little bit worthy here, but we have the bird symbol on the right side. Again, fluffy horizontal lines means the feathers. And then we have the beak here. We have the little feet tucked in there. So this is a bird symbol. The left side is a type of like animal track. Somebody said this is animal track with, I don't know, this curve, like upward turning hook looking thing. And then this is the trapping of the animal. So this cross over there means no, that's a danger place. That's our sign to say, okay, this is underground carved like a hole or trap, right? And with this, it means for humans to indicate you don't go there, it's dangerous. But for animals, if you see the tracks of the animals here leading next to the trap, that means, oh, well, there's a possibility of capture that. So eventually, the whole thing probably means some beastly being that you try to capture, that you cannot really, like a capture bird, you can have some device to capture, but for a bigger size catch, you have to use some trap mechanism to capture. And then here is our grass or plant symbol. So the whole thing, this is sound maker. So whole thing was originally to mean some type of bird flying, and you probably try to capture that bird. And because, I'm trying to jump the logic here, because the bird is freely to travel through the air, and in that sense, they're leaving the place or leaving the trap easily that you set up over there, because for a trap like that, probably it's not for bird catching. Okay, anyways, there are some logic jumps there, but the whole thing means leave from this place to another, unidentified. The point is talking about this place, departing from this place. Okay, mountain. So this is just very super simplified vision. Visualization of a mountain with these spikes. So this is one. When you first learn Chinese, you probably will see this, because this is a strong evidence of how visual Chinese as a language are. And it's abstracted in this way of like, we have to represent three peaks of a mountain range to mean this is mountain. Okay, so now we have some visuals. We have the tiger, we have the mountain. You try to lure the tiger to leave the mountain. And basically, I try to capture each concept with one English word, and this is to distract the enemy so that it wrongly distribute or wrongly assign its most important critical force somewhere else, so that you have a gap in when the tiger is not there. You have a gap to go in to win your war, so to speak. So here, just because it talks about tiger, the main force icon there, right? The most threatening thing from your enemy is represented by tiger. So I want to just show you a threatening tiger picture. And International Tiger Day, probably the animal is so much embedded in our culture that we use tiger a lot in our language. And there is an International Tiger Day, July 29th, to remind people to appreciate this beast, this king of animal kingdoms, because that's top of chain over there, and it does look threatening. And I definitely, I'm not getting anywhere near a tiger unless in the zoo. Okay, cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you next.